Hello, MBN, Shannon from I Cook You Serve. I'm joined today with Ryan from Laika Digital. Ryan's business started in November 2019. Thank you for joining us today.
That's all right.
So how did your business start?
So actually, I kind of started in February 2019, but it started at a different agency. So I had a business partner and we started offering like a full service digital agency, offering web design, SEO, graphic design, copywriting, etc. But then eventually my business partner left. So I decided at the end of last year to kind of relaunch my own brand. So it was my business and kind of refocused our what we do just to be on SEO and web design. I thought if I kind of had less services to cover, that I could provide a bit more of a consistent service and not spread myself too thin. So really, I started in November 2019, like you say, because that's when the new brand launched.
Oh, nice. Well, I think consistency in business is always really important.
Definitely.
Absolutely. So why did you choose SEO then? Where did that come from out of all of the services that you were providing?
So originally, obviously I started off as a web designer around 10 years ago, worked at a number of different agencies, but SEO was always kind of part of my role. And I guess maybe 7 years ago, Google updated their algorithm and made it much harder for people to actually rank for a website. You can just dump a load of keywords on your website anymore and it would rank. And there's a lot more, intricacies to it. So SEO became this really big, new industry. And to do proper white hat SEO now, you need to know how to kind of implement the technical side of things, as well as being able to update designs, make tweaks, do the backlink outreach, keyword research, etc. So I guess it was kind of all the variety that you kind of get with SEO that kind of made me choose that as a way to go. It meant that I can kind of utilize skills I already had and kind of get into a new industry that's kind of growing and quite exciting.
Nice.
There's a lot of stuff out there for SEO, and it's quite a good community as well to be in.
Brilliant. Oh, I like that. That's a really good answer. I think it's really important that you've found something that is so detailed and yet has so much variety to it. So you're not kind of doing the same thing day in, day out, and yet you're still providing the detail for the businesses that you're working with. So I think that that's really important. Is there, with the work that you do, is there kind of a common theme, even though you're working with different businesses, or is it different for each business that you work with?
No, so it's really different for every business that I work with. So I kind of tailor everything to each individual business and what they need to rank for, what they need to look at in their business. So even if they've got 20 services, it might just be one service we focus on as a core service, for example.
Nice. I like that's tailor-made part of your business. I like that it's really specific to the people that you're working with, and you must really get to know the people that you're working with as well to understand their business and who they are, what they're looking for, and all of those different aspects as well.
Yeah, definitely, and that's one thing I really like. I mean, at my previous job, I tended to sit in an office and not speak to anybody all day, and that was horrible. So it's quite nice to be able to kind of build a relationship with somebody. A lot of people I've met at networking, I consider friends now, and we chat, outside of networking or outside of everything. So it's actually quite nice to have that community feel to it. And I think, being able to help people with growing their business as well is really satisfying.
Yeah, it is very satisfying. I know what you mean there. So on your website, you're very open with your prices. Where did that come from? Because most digital website, SEO, all of that kind of field, it can be very, inbox us if you want a quote or like get in touch. So where did that come from, that openness?
So I've worked at a bunch of different agencies in the past. And one of the things that always bothered me was there's such a massive kind of difference in people's expectations when it comes to websites. If you go to one agency, ask for exactly the same thing as what you go to another, one could be 10 grand and one could be 3 grand. And you wonder where that kind of goes. And, ultimately it does come down to things like, the developers they have in-house, what their specialities are, what technology they use, if they use a custom CMS, etc. But if you're an agency and it has, a bunch of developers that full stack developers who are specialists in Laravel and custom JavaScript applications and things like that, and you're building websites for small businesses that are like 3 or 4 pages and have just a contact form on them. It's kind of like shooting a pigeon with a blunderbuss. It's massively overkill. So I guess I just wanted to get that openness out there and say, look, this is what I do, this is what you get. And, it's not, you can have completely, exactly the same website, with exactly the same design, but 2 completely different back-end frameworks.
Yes.
One could cost 10 grand, one could cost 2 grand, but it doesn't mean one's any better. At the end of the day, the end user sees what they see, and they don't see what's going on in the back end anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So I guess it was just trying to help people understand what they were getting themselves into before they got there, so they knew exactly what the service was, exactly what they'd get. And I do offer tailored packages, and if you want a bigger website or something a bit more advanced or custom development done, that is something I can do. But that's where you can ask me to do a custom quote. Otherwise, ultimately, you can just look on my website and say, okay, I know exactly where I stand and this is how much I need to pay. So.
Nice. I think managing people's expectations is so important within business, and like knowing what you're getting into, like literally like you've just said. I think that's really important. So yeah, that's a great answer. So I'm so excited to hear your answer for this. Explain your logo, because I've heard this from, like, we've chatted about it, I've heard a few other people reference it. Your logo is absolutely fascinating. So yeah, explain your logo to us.
I feel like you bigged it up quite a lot then.
No, not at all.
It's actually something that comes up quite a lot. I guess when I decided to rebrand as Laika Digital, I wanted something a little bit different, would stand out against other agencies in the area. A lot of other agencies, even my previous agency, where it was called Inceptive Digital, it was just an ID as the logo. It was a logo type of ID. It's a bit boring, it's easy to forget. So I thought, I want something quite cool, something that's going to stand out a little bit, something people are going to remember. So for anybody who doesn't know, Laika was the name of one of the first animals sent into space. She was one of a number of dogs that was picked up from the streets of Moscow in order to participate in the space program. And the reason they named her Laika was because Laika means barker. Basically, she barked louder than all the other dogs, which is why she got picked. And that kind of led me into choosing Laika as a name, because as a small business, one of the most important things you need to do to kind of get yourself out there is be louder than your competition. So I thought, be louder than your competition, be like Laika. Also, the image of a cute dog in a spacesuit was kind of cool and memorable. So
that is fascinating. I think I really like how it pairs up with what you do as well, because for some people, SEO is the great unknown. It's like going out into space. You've got no idea what you need to do, where you need to start, and that your logo really encapsulates all of the details, and it breaks down from your openness to knowing what you're getting into. Laika probably didn't know what she was getting into.
No, unfortunately not.
But when people come to your website, they know what they're getting into, because your prices are there and what they're paying for is there, and that's really clear. So yeah, I think it's a great logo. I think it's a great story. So yeah, thank you for sharing that with us.
That's right. Yeah, it's something that comes up quite a lot. People always ask it, and I've always got an answer, which is good, I guess.
Yeah, it's good. It is a good story. So what's the best feedback you've ever had for work that you've done?
So I guess it's still very much early days, but I'm grateful for all the clients I've kind of worked with so far. They're all been kind of really good to work with, and not just handed it over and kind of left it. It's been more of a collaborative experience. So one of the best compliments I've gotten is really that I can help people to grow their business online. One of my previous clients had or current clients saw like a 70% uplift in their organic traffic, which, although it's a small number, that's a massive difference. That's a massive jump. And if you can do that month on month on month and see that incremental growth, that's going to be huge eventually. And that's, like I said before, it's really satisfying to kind of help people grow their business, and actually you can make a lot of difference. In a few years' time, when they're making shitloads of money, they can say, that was because we did SEO with with Laika Digital, and that feels pretty good.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
that must be a really good feeling. Yeah. Oh. So where is your business going forward? What are you doing going forward? What project are you working
So I'm actually working on a bunch of different projects at the moment, and I'm still kind of aiming at smaller businesses that might get neglected by other agencies. You know, there's, like we said before, about pricing with websites and things like that. You know, if you're looking at SEO, for example, you know, you could look at £400 or £500 a month for SEO. A lot of other agencies. Whereas I can do it for a lot cheaper, and it doesn't mean that you're getting any less of a service. It's just that I can do a lot more, and I haven't got to pay account managers and things like that. So going forward, there's going to be a lot of focus on the smaller businesses. And one of the new projects that I'm working on at the moment is called SEO Coach, and that's going to be like an online portal that allows people to log in, get a month-by-month strategy on how to kind of do their own SEO. As well as giving them support through chat and allowing them to use software like keyword tracking that might be, you know, 50-60 quid a month if they did it themselves, whereas it's all included in part of the cost of the SEO coach, which I'm going to price at about £29 a month, I think, to begin with. So hopefully, you know, that will be really helpful for smaller businesses and eventually lead on to bigger things, I guess. But that's kind of imminent in the next few months, so that's what I'm going to be working on. So.
Wow, well, that sounds really, really interesting. I think that's going to make a massive difference, and that is a very like direct context, direct communication you're going to be having with people that are part of that membership, and I think that's only going to help you help other people. So I think that's a great idea to kind of reach out to people. So
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So how can people get in touch?
So just get in touch with me on LinkedIn or on Ryan at laikadigital.co.uk is my email address, or you can have a look at my website, laikadigital.co.uk.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us today, Ryan. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
One of the other things as well, one of the many projects that I'm working on at the moment is a new online hub, I'm going to call it. So it's for businesses in Northampton, but, you know, smaller businesses that might not get themselves out there and might not have a massive marketing budget. It's going to be a bit of a directory site and a bit of a community project. So I'm going to be launching that in the next few weeks, and giving some more details out on LinkedIn about that. And it'd be great to get some people involved in that. So if you're interested in working together on a community project, have some content you want to share or news stories, you know, send them over, and we can work together.
Nice. Well, make sure you keep your eyes out for that MBN. Thank you for joining us today, Ryan, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. Take care.
No problem. Cheers.